With the recent release of Captain America Brave New World, we have a new Captain America suit debuting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which means it's time to rank all 17 Captain America suits from my least favourite to my favourite. Hello and welcome to Cinemaze, and if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to see more videos like this. As always with my rankings, I first need to set out the criteria for what I'm going to be including in this ranking. Now, normally I only focus on theatrical films in my rankings. However, since there's some important suits that appear in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I need to include TV suits in this ranking. And if I'm going to be including MCU TV, it means I also have to include the 1979 TV films and the 1990 Captain America film, which went straight to video in the US. And then, just to complete the list, I'm going to be including the 1944 serial suit as well. So this video covers basically the whole history of live action Captain America suits across serials, TV and film, and I'm going to be including suits from any character who has donned the Captain America mantle. So Steve Rogers, John Walker, Sam Wilson and Grant Gardner. More on who that is later, but only including suits that these characters wore while they held the title of Captain America. So no Falcon suits before he became Cap and no US agent suits after John Walker lost the mantle. And of course, this is my opinion on the costumes themselves, considering their comic connections, their relevance to the story or to the character, and considering most importantly their design as a whole. Does it look cool? Is it an effective design? And does it feel like Captain America? This is not a video ranking the characters, the films, or the actors, just the Captain America suits worn in each project. So with that out of the way, let's get right into the ranking. Number 17, the 1979 Captain America suit. In last place is the first suit we see in the 1979 made-for-TV movie Captain America. And not only was this suit limited by what was available at the time and budget, but it's just a terrible design in general. It feels embarrassed by the comic suit and instead redesigns the Captain America suit as a motorcycle stunt Daredevil-esque suit. And that just looks far worse. The helmet is replaced by a chunky motorbike helmet, and the flag now looks like dungarees, which is just far worse. Considering Captain America can have a reputation of being boring and not cool, this suit really doesn't help. The suit has no precedent in the comics before this project, but a similar suit did appear as a jokey Easter egg in a Deadpool comic and in Captain America's Hall of Armor. The element I slightly like is that the white on the shield is now see-through and it can double as a motorcycle windscreen. That's kind of cool, I guess, but that's the only real positive I can give this, because overall, this is a massive fail. Number 16, the 1944 serial suit. So next up is the suit worn in the 1944 Captain America serials, worn by the character Grant Gardner. That's right, in Cap's live-action debut, he wasn't Steve Rogers, he was an original character, District Attorney Grant Gardner, who bore little resemblance to the comic character. That said, his costume is slightly more comic accurate than the 79 suit, but it certainly isn't a good suit all these years later. It looks cheap and it looks from the time. I'm all for briefs on a Superman suit, hell, even on a Batsuit, but this Captain America suit has coloured briefs on the outside. Something, as far as I can tell, didn't happen until later in 1954 in the comic. The posters seem to show the star here as red, which feels very Soviet and not Captain America at all, but in colorizations of the serial it does seem to actually be white, and the Cap suit doesn't really translate well in black and white. Like, the whole point is that he looks like the stars and stripes, but that doesn't come across as well in black and white, compared with something like Batman, whose colors work better for the serial format. Plus, this version never has a shield, so it's missing a key part of the look. A fine suit for the time, I guess, but it just doesn't work at all nowadays. Number 15, the 1979 Captain America second suit. So now we have the second suit worn by the 1979 Captain America at the end of the first 79 film and in its sequel, Captain America 2 Death 2 suit. And this is a more accurate Captain America suit, losing a lot of the Daredevil elements from the first suit. Most notably, the proper stripes are now on his chest rather than the dungaree look, and the trim from the gloves and the boots is now gone. The helmet has been redesigned to have a larger more protruding wings, and a cowl is now worn underneath. I don't get why he still wears the helmet. Like, he's wearing a cowl underneath it. Take the helmet off and this suit would look a lot better. Definitely an improvement over the previous version of this suit, but still not great. Number 14, 1990 Captain America. Then we have the 1990 Captain America film, which weirdly was direct to video in the US, but did get a theatrical release in the UK. And I don't hate this suit. I've got to respect it for trying to adapt the suit properly compared with the prior attempts. And it looks how you'd expect a low budget Cap suit from the 90s to look. Clearly it hasn't aged the best, but the core design is pretty comic accurate, and the core comic design is strong enough that this suit looks good enough. The shield here looks really cheap, and I think the biggest problem here is the cowl. It just makes this guy's head look super weird. Like, look at him without the mask. That's Captain America, no question. But with the mask, it's just awkward. And the absolute worst part, it has rubber ears. The ears outside the cowl aren't his real ones. Why? It's so weird, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. I respect this suit for trying to bring the comic suit to life properly, but with the budget and the era, it wasn't quite ready yet. But hey, it's way better than the Red Skull costume from the same film. Number 13, the Avengers 2012 suit. Now we're onto the suits from the MCU, and of the MCU suits, my least favorite is Steve Rogers' suit from the Avengers 2012, also appearing in Spider-Man Homecoming and Endgame. And up to now, we've been looking at suits suits which are over 35 years old, which have aged badly. But this suit is only 13 years old, has already aged badly, and didn't even look good at the time. Most of the MCU suits are built off the same core design from the first Avenger, and that core design is heavily inspired by the Ultimates version of Captain America. This is the only real main Steve Rogers suit which goes away from that design, and in doing so, gives us a pretty terrible suit. I get what they were going for, trying to give us a Cap suit that is slightly more comic accurate to the classic design, with more of a full cowl all the way up to the neck instead of a chin strap design, but the way it looks on this suit just doesn't work. The neck here just looks weird, and it does a similar thing to the 90s suit where it really changes his jawline and makes his face look a lot softer and rounder. Even the way the mask bends over the top of the head seems too rounded and smooth and makes his head shape look really weird. Plus the covered ears don't work at all. The material looks odd for this suit. It looks kind of soft and almost like felt. It doesn't feel as tactical or military as his other suit. The colours here are much brighter and they pop a lot more, and while I tend to like bright colours on superhero suits, it just looks odd and goofy here. And honestly, that's my main issue with this suit. It's just dorky. As mentioned earlier, Captain America can have a reputation of being boring or a goofy character, and back in 2012 this movie was a lot of people's first introduction to the character, and if this is your introduction to the character, it would make you think he's a lame character. Despite it trying to be more comic accurate, I think it captures all the wrong aspects of the character. There's a reason they chose this suit to appear in the jokey PSA videos in Homecoming, because it has that feeling of trying to be cool but failing, and there's a reason why they make jokes about this suit in Endgame. In fairness to this suit, it does look a lot better without the helmet, and there are story reasons giving it the more old-fashioned look designed by Coulson, but as an overall costume, it really doesn't work, and it's aged horribly already. Number 12, the USO suit. Next up, we have the first ever Captain America suit worn in the MCU, and that's the USO suit that Cap wore when working with the USO and performing on stage. And obviously, just looking at it, this is not a great suit. It's low quality and it's cheesy, but that's the point. The suit is serving its function perfectly. It's supposed to look like this. It's supposed to reference Captain America's more cheesy history in the comics, maybe even referencing how he looked in the 40s serials and the types of costumes you would see in that era, kind of Uncle Sam style. It's also supposed to serve as an origin for why Steve has his proper suit. If he went straight to a serious looking Captain America suit during the war, it may feel weird and out of place, but having this USO suit be the origin that all the other suits are based off is a genius way to make the stars and stripes work in a more grounded setting. I also like that this gives us the more traditional heater shaped shield which he originally starts off with in the comic, and it gives the opportunity to replicate the super iconic cover in some way in the MCU. Obviously this isn't a cool looking suit, which is why it can't be any higher up this list, but it gets above the Avengers 2012 suit because this one actually serves a function in the story as to why it looks the way it does, while also referencing the comics at the same time. Number 11, the original field uniform. Now we have the next step in Cap's suit evolution with his original field uniform. This takes the USO suit, adds some military looking clothes over the top and a helmet, and it continues his suit's journey from a basic looking stage costume into something that works for the military. Obviously this is a very simple look and not the most traditional or visually interesting, but it is potentially influenced by the look of Captain America's war suit in the Ultimate Universe with the helmet and the shield, and it does lead to some very effective war imagery, and it works in the war setting. Number 10, Sam Wilson's stealth suit. Coming into the top 10 is Sam Wilson's second Captain America suit, the one that we see in Brave New World. And firstly, there is a massive jump between the previous suits and the top 10. All of the ones before this have aged either badly or were proto suits. Everything from now on are professional looking suits, and I think they're all very good. At the premiere of this movie, this suit was called the stealth suit, and I'm not the biggest fan of this new Captain America suit. I just don't think it does enough differently, and it makes Sam's look as Captain America less distinct, because this suit has more of a Steve Rogers look to it with the blue color scheme. I understand that it's a stealth suit, so it needs to be a darker color than the white, but I just don't like this look for Sam Wilson. Sam's first Cap suit was white like the comic Sam Wilson Cap suit, and I think that's far more effective. It's still clearly a Captain America suit, but clearly not Steve Rogers. But this new suit removes the white, which makes it feel like it loses Sam's identity. Like there's a reason Miles Morales doesn't wear a red and blue Spider-Man suit, because he's not Peter Parker, and if you put him in a red and blue suit, he would feel less like Miles, and I feel the same here. Like if you can't see the head of Sam on this suit, it looks way more like a Steve Rogers suit than a Sam Wilson one, just with one extra red stripe on the stomach. Also not a fan of the slightly rolled up sleeves. Like why? Wouldn't it make sense for the sleeves to go all the way down, especially when flying at high speeds to make it more streamlined? Now I do like the addition of a helmet. This guy is flying at incredible speed through the air. Why would he not have a helmet to protect himself? It's crazy to think it took so long for this character to get a helmet. Overall, not a bad looking suit, and I know some people prefer this to his white suit, but for me, this is just a suit that takes away from the identity of Sam Wilson as Captain America. Number 9, the Age of Ultron suit. Now we have the Age of Ultron Captain America suit, and again, this is still a good suit, but I have to be extremely nitpicky to rank these suits, and so this one comes in lower compared with the others. Now, firstly, I'm so glad that they went back to a Captain America suit design that works, rather than trying to have a suit that looked more like the first Avengers movie, because this style of suit works so much better. Like I said, there's nothing inherently wrong with this suit. I just find it a bit too over-designed, I would say. Like, there's a few extra splashes of red in here, adding random lines, the Avengers logo on the shoulders, and these extra small details just seem to stand out more on this suit. The blue feels darker, but the red seems more vibrant. The white on the arms on this one feels like the exact wrong amount of white. Either we need full-sleeved white or no white. Here it just looks like armbands. It makes him look like he's the captain of a sports team. And as I'm saying this, I realise that maybe that's intentional. He is a captain and he is the leader of this team, but I doubt it. I just don't think it looks as good. When people talk about MCU suits feeling over-designed with unnecessary lines and details, I think that's most obvious with this Captain America suit. And honestly, I feel this way about a lot of the suits in Age of Ultron. Something about them just feels slightly off. The only real thing new that this suit does is add the magnets to bring back the shield, which I think is a cool addition. But other than that, it just feels like another Captain America suit that isn't perfecting the design or doing anything new. It's just here because he needs a new suit for the new film. Number 8, the Infinity War suit. Now, technically in universe, this is the same suit Cap wears in Civil War, but as a look for the character, as a costume overall, I'm giving it its own rank because it is visually distinct. You could argue that this isn't a Captain America suit because he gave up the mantle at the end of Civil War, but the toys for this call him Captain America and no one's replaced him as Captain America, so I'm counting it. So yeah, this is his Civil War suit, but after taking damage slowly over the years while Captain America was on the run. He's ripped off the Star and Avengers logos, representing him giving up on his past role. The suit is a darker colour from dirt to make him stand out less while on the lam, and it's covered in rips. Now, I think my favourite detail about this suit is how under the rips you can see a scale texture. Now, traditionally in the comics, Captain America has a scale chainmail texture on his suit, which we never saw in the MCU up to this point. But I like here that its origin is that it acts as a texture under the suit, reinforcing the armour. It's a cool way to make the scale texture work. We get to see his Wakandan shield gauntlets, which I think work for the movie and for fighting the Outriders. He's ditched his helmet here, which is honestly a bit weird for a guy on the run. You'd think he'd want some kind of mask, but of course it's replaced with his glorious beard. It's a great look for a version of Captain America who's on the run, who's abandoned the title of Captain America without having to adapt the goofy looking nomad suit when Cap does similar things in the comic. And I can imagine some people think that I've put this suit too low on the list, which I get, but when I'm ranking Captain America suits, it's not the best Captain America suit. It's a great look and it's a great step in his journey of being Captain America, but I like my Captain America clean shaven and with red, white and blue front and center. Number 7, the John Walker suit. Next up we have the suit worn by John Walker during Falcon and the Winter Soldier when he was selected as Captain America. And I can imagine this suit being so high up my list is a bit controversial because remember all the memes about this suit? But I think this suit is doing a lot of things and I think it's doing all of them really well. Firstly, it's clearly based off John Walker's US agent suit from the comics, which itself is based off Steve Rogers' The Captain suit, which he wore when he quit being Captain America. And this allows him to transition to the US agent suit at the end of the show based off this design. Secondly, it is designed to feel very corporate, like a room of government designers tried to create a modern, sleek, corporate looking Captain America suit. The logo here being both the A and the star is genius. It's the exact type of thing you can imagine being done to redesign the suit. And thirdly, but connected to that second point, it's supposed to feel a bit weird. Like it's not supposed to feel like Captain America. The goofier feeling helmet, the lack of white stripes, all of this is supposed to not feel right. It kind of loses the charm and meaning behind the Captain America suit while still looking like one, which is perfect for the character who isn't right to be Cap but can still be some kind of hero. So for me, this suit is exactly what it needs to be. A well-designed suit inspired by the comic suit, which feels very government and very corporate while still giving John Walker his own look, but feeling slightly off. Visually, it's clearly Captain America, but it evokes the feeling that this guy shouldn't be Captain America, which is absolutely perfect for this character. Number 6, Sam Wilson's infiltration suit. This is Sam Wilson's first suit worn as Captain America, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I prefer this suit over his new blue Captain America suit. Firstly, this is very accurate to Sam's comic suit, a suit which is very hard to pull off in live action, and they make it work while still feeling like a suit that fits into the MCU with some elements from his Falcon suits in here and this universe's history of Captain America in here. Like, this doesn't just feel like another Captain America suit. It feels like a suit which blends Falcon and Cap together with its own identity, and I think that's what Sam Wilson represents. As mentioned earlier, I think the extra white on the suit helps to give Sam his own identity as Cap, in the way that in the comics, Bucky wears more black when he's Captain America and Steve has traditional blue, helping to differentiate these characters. Now, I know some people disagree, but I think the neck connecting to the goggles look good, and I think they pulled it off in live action, and I'm glad we got to see it here. Now, when this suit does appear in Brave New World, they removed this neck connection and instead replaced it with a helmet, which I get. The neck thing must have been super uncomfy, and it did require some visual effects. I'm not the biggest fan of this suit's origins, like it's vibranium and it's connected to Wakanda. That always feels a bit weird for me for a guy called Captain America. It felt like it was just handed to him to give him a suit to wear at the end of the show, but overall, it's a really comic accurate suit that I think gives Sam his own identity as Captain America, and if we see him wear future suits, I hope they keep something similar to this design. Number 5, the original war suit. Kicking off the top 5 is the first proper Captain America suit we see Steve Rogers wear, and man, they nailed a specific look for this character right away. Captain America's classic comic costume is super hard to adapt. There was a time when it seemed impossible after some of the 80s and 90s attempts, because it's a man wearing the US flag, and the neck connecting to the mask is also really hard to pull off in live action, but they found a way to make it work, and it doesn't feel goofy or out of place in the war. This suit massively takes inspiration from the Ultimate Universe rather than the mainline 616 universe, whose suit hasn't really changed much in how it looks over time. Mainly here, they've adapted the chin strap instead of the neck cowl, the grey elements, the emblems on the shoulders, and the stripes forming the dungarees which add to the shield strap on the back. These were all seen in different suits in the Ultimate Universe, and this suit brings all of these different elements together. It really modernizes the Captain America suit in a way that works for modern films, but also feeling like it fits into the wartime setting. I like that we saw proto suits before this one showing how they slowly built up to it. If they went straight to this, it would feel weird and goofy, but there's more of a history behind his costume and his title of Captain America. This suit has more of a full white sleeve rather than the armband look we got in Age of Ultron, and I think the full sleeve works better and it's more comic accurate. Also, I haven't talked about his shield yet because it's the same for most of the suits, but this was the first suit to introduce the classic shield, and they really nailed how it looks. Often in the comics it's more like a dome, and that always felt weird to me, but here they perfectly nailed the shape, the size, and the texture to make it feel like a useful and believable tool and not a goofy flag coloured plastic dome. Now, it's not perfect. I think it's weird without the middle third red stripe. There's a bit too much grey here, and the covered ears is a bit weird, but for a first design in a wartime setting, this suit is perfect, and it leaves room for things to be slowly improved and modernised over time. Number 4, the Smithsonian replica suit, and this leads directly on from the previous wartime suit because this is the suit that Steve Rogers wears for the finale of Winter Soldier, and it's essentially a museum recreation of his first Avenger suit. And this one just takes that design and tidies it up a bit. They found a natural way for him to wear a brighter suit in the modern day in a more grounded movie by stealing it from a museum. The biggest improvement is the middle red stripe is now here. It just looks better to me. The grey straps are now also slightly smaller, and there's just less extra bits here to make it feel less over-designed and more streamlined. Not too much to say here, just a slightly improved version of the previously ranked suit. Number 3, the Civil War suit. Coming into the top 3 is Captain America's Civil War suit, and again, this is just slowly perfecting the base design introduced in the first Avenger, particularly improving some of the issues I had with the Age of Ultron suit. This removes some of the extra red lines around the star, the shoulders, the boots and gloves, so it feels less over-designed, and the red here is less vibrant, which I think works better. The white on the arms is now completely gone, and while less comic accurate, I think it does just look better. And it keeps elements of the stealth and Age of Ultron suit which work well, like the ears being exposed and the angular stripes on the chest. I also think this one feels slightly better fitting than the previous suits. The other ones always felt slightly big or padded. This one feels more streamlined, so it just looks more modern. And also a small detail, but this is the first time we actually see him use his pouches for his tools, which is a nice touch. The suit isn't doing anything special, but it's just really perfecting the previous designs, keeping what works and removing what doesn't. Number 2, the stealth suit. At number 2, we have the Strike stealth suit appearing in the Winter Soldier and briefly in Endgame. As the name suggests, this suit is designed for stealth, so it removes a lot of the bright colours and really streamlines and modernizes the suit. It's such an effective design, it really works for this purpose and for the more grounded movie it existed. We even see the shield repainted from red to blue to make it less conspicuous, which is a nice touch as we don't really get to see the shield change over time. And there were eras of Captain America which had more blue on the shield. The suit feels massively influenced by the 2010 Steve Rogers Super Soldier suit, which again removes a lot of the colour, has the stripes surrounding the star rather than on the stomach, and with the brown tactical shoulder straps. And in the movie, these straps connect to what holds up the shield on his back. Now, people love this suit, and I think the creators do as well, hence why they brought this suit back one more time in Endgame. But one thing I don't think I see much credit for about this suit is how it really modernizes the wartime suits, because sure, all the designs are based off that first Avenger wartime suit, but all the modern designs are also massively influenced by this costume. All the small touches which were streamlined from the war suit happened here first. This was the first suit to have the ears outside the helmet, a small touch, but it really makes the helmet feel less goofy. This is the first suit with the brown shoulder straps to his shield instead of connecting to his stripes like dungarees. Again, a minor touch, but looks way cooler, way more tactical. This is the first suit to use the fingerless gloves, which makes it feel more tactical and useful. This is the first suit changing the stripes into more angular tactical lines. Sure, they aren't coloured here, but all the future suits have this angular look. So this suit was great at not only creating a look which works for stealth, but creating a core design where the colour could be added back in to allow more modern but colourful Captain America suits going forward. And this design was so strong that it kept for all future modern suits, and elements even carried through into future Captain America suits worn by other characters. I have no issues with this suit, but I'm a sucker for the classic, for the colour, and for the comic accurateness, which leads us to number 1, the Avengers Endgame suit. Coming in at number 1 is the suit from Avengers Endgame, which gives us the perfect blend of MCU suit and comic suit. It essentially takes the Civil War suit, which was already high at my list, and adds the chainmail scale look to it, which we previously saw underneath his ripped Infinity War suit. As mentioned in the comics, Captain America traditionally has a texture to his suit. Some people saw this as feathers, scales, or chainmail. Apparently it's supposed to be like scale mail, and we never saw this in the MCU because I assumed they thought it would look goofy. But Endgame knew that it was the last time we would see some characters, and much like giving Iron Man the full yellow arms for the first time, it gave Cap the scales for the first time. And I'm so glad we were able to see the iconic look adapted for the big screen. I like the idea that Steve discovered the scales from his ripped Infinity War suit and then wanted this to be on the outside of his suit going forward, representing how he is no longer the same person and carrying those elements from that era of his life forwards with him rather than hiding it underneath his suit like before. This suit really reminds me of the suit that we see on the cover for Ultimate Captain America Annual 1 where he fights Black Panther. So overall, this is just the perfect MCU MCU suit. It keeps the same core design from his first wartime suit, keeps the modern elements from the fantastic stealth suit, but adds a comic color back in and finally gives us the comic accurate scales. And with all these things together, it creates the best Captain America suit we've seen in live action, and it ends up as my favorite suit, coming in at number 1. I hope you enjoyed my ranking. This was super fun to make, looking into the history outside of the MCU and really picking apart these very similar MCU suits. Let me know your favorite Captain America suit down below in the comments. If you've liked this, I've also ranked the Spider-Man, Batman, and Wolverine suits, so check those out if you haven't already, and subscribe to see more suit rankings going forwards. It's a big year for superheroes, so you can expect Daredevil, Fantastic Four, and of course Superman suit rankings coming out closer to those releases. I've recently hit 7,000 subscribers, so thanks so much for the support. I'm aiming for 10,000 subscribers this year, so subscribe to help me get there. If you enjoyed this, please give the video a like. It helps my channel out so much. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe for more videos like this on Marvel, DC, or anything else amazing going on in cinema right now. But for now, thanks for watching. Cinemaze.